Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. You're still with us.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Exciting.
We're day 158. You're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
It's summertime. You know, this is when it starts to get a little hard for me. I don't know about you. Yeah, lots going on and a little harder to keep up to date, but you guys are doing good. So we're glad you're here with us today. I am Pastor Sarah. I'm the little kids pastor here at the Mill Creek campus, and I am joined by...
I am Hannah, and I work with Pastor Sarah and little kids. I also am in pastors in training with Pastor Dan, so we meet once a month, and then I do services with Pastor Sarah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love her heart to just be in little kids. She's there every week. She remembers the kids, welcomes them by name. She comes up on stage, leads the worship. She even does the lesson with Danny and little kids. And I really love like your heart to just be there and help build the foundation for these little kids in their faith.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to have you here today too. So let's get into it.
Okay.
So we have 1 King chapter 2. So we see David is dying. Yeah. And he's talking with his son, Solomon. And I don't know about you, but I just got this like whole image of like what that was like.
Yeah, same.
Of him dying and talking to his son. And just being a parent, I just imagine like how hard that moment was.
Yeah.
But he's just giving him so much advice, which I imagine like any parent would do for their child, and just saying, this is who you need to look out for. Make sure that you stay in tune with God and that you follow his path and that you look to him and everything will be secured. Yeah. And I think that was probably a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah. You had a lot of trust in like that whole situation.
Yeah. And his father and seeing how God had come through for David so many times. And David was probably the most patient man in the Bible, just waiting on God's timing all the time, because there were so many moments where it just seemed like, you know, God had forgotten about him, and he just waited and was so patient and just knew God's going to come through. His timing's perfect. So we see Solomon establish the throne, but I mean, in the meantime, we see so many people fighting for power.
Yeah, there was a lot of people fighting.
Yeah. So Solomon, it tells us in verse 12, he became king and he sat on the throne of David, his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. What did you put down any notes about?
I did. While I was reading, I was thinking how, like, if we follow the Lord's commandments, and because we're descendants of him, and if we follow him faithfully, we will be successful, and then we all have a path to follow. Like, everything will go in its place. We just have to trust in him.
Yeah, and we see that happen. We see that Solomon trusts that he's going to be in power and on the throne, and that's exactly what happened. But it didn't come without just many people, like I said, trying to fight for that power, including his own brother. We see his brother in this chapter come to his mom and try to be married to someone that's going to help him have influence and power. Yeah. And we see God come through yet again, because Solomon had to kill many people to establish the throne and take out many people. And I don't know about you, but we're not really fighting for a throne or power. So I thought to myself, what do I take out of this personally? And I thought, there's someone or something that we put on the throne of our hearts, right? Is that Jesus, or is it something else? So and we have a choice as to what we put on the throne. And there's going to be lots of enemies that we have to take out along the way. That might be media. It might be bad, toxic relationships. Like it could be many things, but we have to eliminate those things in order for Jesus to be properly on the throne in our hearts. And so that's kind of what I took out of this, thinking about what's important to us.
Yeah. What's at the top of our checklist. Really.
Yeah. And like, what do I need to let go of? Yeah. What are things that I'm putting there that I need to let go of? Then we get into Acts chapter 5. So this story is so short, and yet you get so much out of it.
It was really interesting to read.
Yes. Yeah. So Ananias, him and his wife, they sell their house and they want to be seen as generous and considered very generous. So they take the money to the church and they say, this is everything we got from our house. But in fact, it wasn't. It was only a portion of it. And it's so interesting because they didn't have to give a certain amount. So they had a choice as to what to do with their money. There was no one telling them what to do. And so then they say to them, like, how could you do this? Like, why have you let Satan fill your heart? You lied to the Holy Spirit and you kept some of the money for yourself.
I just don't understand how they felt guilty in the moment. Like, I could never do that without like having to confess what I just did.
Yeah.
Because you're lying to so many people. You're not even lying to people. You're lying to God himself. And he could see through that also.
Yeah. And then when they get confronted, they literally drop dead. So Ananias and his wife both drop dead. And then it's just a reminder kind of just we need to know when we're wrong, like when our hearts are wrong with God. So then we go into the next part of this, which is the the apostles.
Yes.
The apostles are sharing the good news and they're not afraid of what's going to happen to them, which I love so much about Paul. And just he was like a man on fire, right?
Yeah, he was.
After Jesus left, and he's like, I'm going to tell everyone. So they get arrested and put in jail.
Yeah.
And this is the best part of the story. Then angels free them from the prison.
Yes.
And they go back out and start sharing the good news again. But we see like the high council come to the prison and they can't find them. And they're like, we know it was really secure. Where are they? And I thought that this was a really powerful moment too. Is there anything that you highlighted or that stood out to you?
I just loved, because when I like picture them getting broken out of jail by an angel, I see like a big thing, like a ray of light, and then like the next thing they know, they're just out. Like it's like picture it so vividly, but it's so hard to explain.
I know. I just think it was such a powerful moment, that reminder of how powerful God is.
Yeah, and what he can do for you.
Yeah, when we're on the same path as him, when we're on his path and we're doing what he has for us and we're sharing the good news, like there's never going to be any situation that he's not going to get us out of. So obviously then we see them too contemplating what to do, arresting them again. And we see someone step forward. In verse 39, it said, but if it is from God, you will not be able to overthrow them. You may even find yourselves fighting against God.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even they recognize the power that God has. And I mean, it's just so important for us to remember as followers to trust in that and to trust in God and that he's going to get us through.
Yeah.
So then we go into Psalms. What did you think about Psalms?
While I was reading Psalms, I was thinking how we put all our trust in the Lord and he will be our mountain. And that the Lord does good things to good people who have good hearts, and that they're in the right place.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I highlighted. I put those who trust in the Lord are as secure as Mount Zion. They will not be defeated, but will endure forever. And so we saw that throughout this whole reading today, and just trust, right? Trust in God, trust in his plan.
Trust was a big thing in all of these stories.
Yes. And then Proverbs just kind of sums it up by highlighted, there is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we saw with Ananias and his wife. Like it seemed right to they're thinking, well, I'm giving, what's wrong in that they were deceiving others. So that's where it quite literally ended in death. So a reminder of like, what is our motive? What is the why behind what we're doing? And who are we trying to impress? Are we trying to impress others? Are we trying to impress God? I mean, impress, I guess isn't even the right word, but who are we looking for favor from, right?
It's more like an act. Like you get so caught up in the act and like you think you're doing the right thing. So then your mind plays this trick on you where it's like, you're doing the right thing. Nothing's wrong with this. Like you might have deceived them a little bit, but it was just like a little white lie, but it's really more than that.
Yeah. So I love today's passage. I'm so glad that you joined me today.
I'm happy I joined you.
I'm glad you guys all joined us. If there's anything that stood out to you, please comment, like us on Facebook, share, and we will see you
next
tomorrow.
time.
Bye.
Bye.